The Ryokan stood at the edge of the mountain village like it had been forgotten by time itself. It wasn't the kind of place you'd find in a tourist guidebook. It was older, quieter, and built in the traditional style: dark cedar beams, narrow hallways, paper shoji doors, and lanterns that glowed dimly like fireflies trapped in glass. Outside, the mountain air smelled clean: cold pine, wet stone, snowmelt drifting down the slopes. But the moment you stepped inside the Ryokan, something felt wrong. Not obvious, not like a horror movie, just heavy. Like the building was holding its breath. Every sound you made seemed to disappear too quickly. Footsteps on the tatami floor didn't echo, voices didn't carry far. Even laughter felt muffled, as if the walls didn't allow joy to travel. The front desk was run by an elderly woman with silver hair tied neatly behind her head. She greeted guests politely, bowed deeply, and spoke softly in the slow, calm voice of someone who had spent her entire life in this place. Her smile never reached her eyes. She handed out room keys like it was routine. But when she reached the key for room 7, her fingers paused. Just for a second, barely noticeable. Then she slid the key across the counter without saying a word. No warning, no explanation, nothing. And yet, the air around that key felt colder than everything else. Room 7 was located at the end of a long hallway, not the main hallway where the other guests stayed. It was down a narrower corridor where the lanterns burned dimmer and the floor creaked louder. As you walked toward it, the wood beneath your feet felt uneven, soft in certain places, as if the floorboards had warped or swollen from something more than just age. The hallway light flickered once as you passed, then steadied again. But the flicker wasn't random, it was timed, like the building reacted to your presence. The door to room 7 slid open smoothly, almost too smoothly, as if it had been waiting. Inside was a traditional room: tatami mats, a low wooden table, folded futons stacked neatly in the corner, and a small lantern resting beside a tea set. The shoji window looked out into the forest behind the Ryokan: tall trees, dense shadows, mist drifting between trunks like slow-moving smoke. But the strangest thing in the room wasn't the window, it was the mirror. It stood in the corner near the dresser, tall, almost as tall as a person. Its wooden frame was lacquered black but cracked with age. The surface of the mirror looked darker than it should have, not reflective like glass, more like water, still water, the kind you find in deep wells. The kind that doesn't reflect the sky properly. You could see yourself in it, but your reflection seemed delayed by a fraction of a second, just enough to make you question if you imagined it. You blinked, and your reflection blinked too, but not at the same time. Night fell quickly in the mountains, the village lights disappeared. The forest outside became one massive shadow. The Ryokan quieted as the last guests went to sleep. The hallways dimmed. The lantern light turned soft and orange. The air inside the room grew colder, not by much, but enough that you noticed it, enough that your skin prickled. You pulled the futon closer, tried to relax, and listened to the sounds of the building: creaking wood, distant dripping water, and the soft hum of the lantern flame. At first, everything felt peaceful. Then the mirror began to fog. It started at the top, a thin layer of condensation spreading slowly downward like breath on cold glass. But the room wasn't humid. The air was dry, and the temperature wasn't changing enough to explain it. Still, the fog thickened, swirling in strange patterns, not random, not like steam. It curled in spirals, as if something inside the mirror was breathing against it. A soft, almost invisible shape appeared beneath the fog. At first it looked like nothing, a smudge, a shadow, but then it became clearer. Two hollows formed: eyes, not your eyes, not human eyes, deep and uneven, like dark holes carved into the glass. The lantern flickered once, and the eyes seemed to move closer. The fog shifted again. A nose formed, long, sharp, then a mouth appeared, thin and curved. A smile, not friendly, not warm, a smile that stretched too wide. The edges of it bent upward unnaturally, as if the face behind the mirror didn't understand how human expressions worked. The smile widened, slowly, deliberately, like something was enjoying your fear. Your chest tightened. The air felt heavier. Breathing suddenly required effort, like inhaling through wet cloth. You sat up, staring frozen. The fog on the mirror continued to move. Droplets gathered along the outline of the face like sweat forming on skin. Then the droplets began to slide. Not downward, upward, against gravity, like invisible fingers were dragging them. The lantern's flame trembled. The room temperature dropped sharply. Cold crawled along the tatami floor like frost. Then, a handprint appeared on the mirror, not from your side, from inside it. A pale palm pressed outward, flattening against the glass. Long fingers splayed wide, too long, too thin. Each fingertip ended in sharp points. The hand pushed harder. The mirror surface rippled like water. The wooden frame creaked, strained like it was holding something back. The lantern flickered again. The mirror bowed outward slightly, and you realized something terrifying. It wasn't reflecting the room. It was containing something. The hallway outside went silent, completely silent. No distant footsteps, no wind, no village sounds. Even the forest outside seemed to stop moving. The entire Ryokan felt like it had gone still, like it was listening. Then the mirror made a sound, a soft creaking, like a door slowly opening. The handprint moved. The fingers dragged downward, leaving streaks of condensation like claw marks in frost. The face behind the mirror pressed forward. The eyes widened, and suddenly, the lantern went out. Darkness flooded the room instantly. Not gradual, not dim, complete black. You couldn't see your own hands. The silence was absolute. Then you heard breathing, not yours. A slow inhale, wet, heavy, like air being pulled through waterlogged lungs. It came from the corner, from the mirror. You tried to move, but your body refused. The tatami beneath you felt colder than ice. The air smelled different now. Mildew, wet stone, and something metallic, like rusted iron. Then you heard a whisper. Not words, not language. Just a soft, layered murmur like dozens of voices speaking at once, overlapping into something incomprehensible. The whispering crawled into your ears, into your skull, like it wasn't sound traveling through air, but something invading your mind. Your throat tightened, your heartbeat thundered, and then the lantern snapped back on. The room was lit again. The mirror was clear. No fog, no face, no handprint, nothing. Just your reflection staring back at you, pale, wide-eyed, terrified. For a moment you thought it was over, then your reflection smiled, but you didn't. You told yourself it was exhaustion, stress. Maybe the lantern flicker had messed with your eyes. Maybe the mirror was old and warped. Maybe you imagined the entire thing, but you didn't sleep much. You spent the night staring at the mirror, waiting for it to move again, waiting for the fog, waiting for the eyes. Morning came slowly, and when daylight finally filled the room, everything felt normal again. Almost, except the mirror was still cold. Even in the sunlight, the glass felt like winter, and on the wooden frame, you noticed something new. Faint scratches, thin, uneven, like fingernails had been dragged across the lacquer. You asked the staff at breakfast about room 7. The elderly woman at the desk froze. Her face tightened. Her eyes lowered. Then she said softly, "Room 7 is old." That was all. No explanation. No apology. She turned away as if the conversation never happened, and that was when you noticed something else. There was no key hanging behind the desk for room 7, only a blank hook, as if the key had never been meant to leave the building. That night, you tried to cover the mirror. You took a towel, a blanket, anything you could find. You draped it over the glass, and for a moment you felt relief. You climbed into the futon, closed your eyes, and tried to sleep. Then, the towel slid off, slowly, like something behind it was pushing it away. You sat up instantly. The towel fell to the floor. The mirror stood uncovered again, and the fog returned, faster this time, thicker, swirling violently. The lantern dimmed, room temperature plummeted. Frost crawled along the tatami edges. The face appeared again, but this time, it was clearer. The eyes weren't hollow anymore. They were metallic, reflecting the lantern light like wet coins. The smile stretched wider than before, and behind the face, you saw movement. Shadows shifting like bodies pressed against the inside of the glass. Dozens of shapes, crowded, silent, waiting. Then the handprint returned. Not one, two, then another, and another. Multiple hands pressing outward from inside the mirror like drowning victims pushing against ice. The mirror rippled violently now, as if the surface couldn't hold them back much longer. The frame creaked, the wood cracked, and the whispering began again, louder, clearer. It sounded like voices calling your name, even though they shouldn't know it, even though you never said it aloud. Your reflection appeared again, but it wasn't you, it was you, standing behind you, in the mirror, closer than you should have been. Your reflection raised a hand, and pointed toward the floor, toward the tatami mat beneath you. Then you heard it, a knock, from below the floor. One knock, then another, slow, deliberate, like someone trapped under the room, trying to get out. The knocking grew louder. The tatami mat beneath you bulged upward slightly, as if something underneath pressed against it. The whispering became screaming inside your head, and then the mirror went black, not dark, black, like ink, and a shape emerged from within it, a silhouette, tall, thin, boneless. It didn't step out like a person. It flowed, like smoke pouring from a crack. It stretched upward until it almost touched the ceiling. Then it leaned forward, and the lantern flame died again. Darkness, complete darkness. But this time, you felt something breathing beside you, right next to your face, cold breath, wet breath, the kind of breath that belonged to something dead. And then a voice whispered clearly into your ear, not Japanese, not English, not any language you recognized, but you understood the meaning anyway. Because it wasn't speaking with words, it was speaking with fear, and the meaning was simple: stay. When sunlight finally broke through the shoshi window, you woke up on the floor, not in the futon. Your body was stiff, cold, your hands were trembling. The lantern was still burning, but weak, like it had been struggling all night. The mirror was clear again, normal again, but something was different. On the mirror's surface was a handprint. On the outside, your side, pale, cold, and too large to be yours. And on the floor, the tatami mat had been torn slightly, just enough to reveal the wooden boards beneath, and beneath those boards were scratches, deep scratches, like something had been clawing upward for a long time, trying to escape, trying to reach the mirror. You packed immediately, didn't eat breakfast, didn't speak to anyone. You walked down the hallway with your bags, heart pounding, refusing to look back. But as you passed the front desk, the elderly woman was waiting. She didn't smile, she didn't bow, she simply stared at you, and then she said something in a voice so quiet it barely sounded human. The mirror only opens for those who look too long. You froze, slowly turned, but she was already walking away, like she had never spoken, like she had never been there. Outside, the mountain air felt warm compared to the Ryokan. The village seemed alive again, birds chirping, wind moving through trees, everything normal. But when you looked back at the building, you noticed something you hadn't seen before. Room 7's window didn't reflect the sunlight, it reflected darkness, like the room inside was still nighttime, and in the window, you saw movement, a shape, tall, thin, standing behind the glass, watching you leave, and just before you turned away, it raised a pale hand, and pressed it against the inside of the window, the same hand, the same long fingers, the same sharp points. Then the curtains closed on their own, even though there was no wind. Some places aren't haunted because something died there. Some places are haunted because something is still trapped there, still pressing against the walls, still searching for a way out. And the mirror in room 7 was never meant to reflect people. It was meant to contain something. Something that lived behind the glass. Something that learned how to mimic faces. How to mimic smiles. How to mimic human expressions. But not perfectly, because it wasn't human. And the worst part, the staff never removed the mirror. They never destroyed it. They never covered it, because they couldn't. The mirror belonged to the Ryokan, and the Ryokan belonged to the mountain. And the mountain belonged to whatever lived inside that glass. So if you ever travel through rural Japan, and you find an old Ryokan with dim lanterns, and the staff hesitates before giving you your key, make sure you check your room number, because if you ever get room 7, don't look into the mirror, don't touch the glass, and whatever you do, don't smile. Because if it smiles back, it means it saw you, and once it sees you, it never forgets. Please like and subscribe.